Where shall we go today? Where shall we go? Where do you want to go today? Let's walk round Wotton Under Edge. Wotton Under Edge is a great place for kids. They've even got a bloody youth zone that's open all the time, except of course it's closed at the moment. Although we're not in Wales, they still have a chapel. Nice. They also have a Baptist church as well, which is adequate. Oh, actually, come around the corner, it's actually quite nice. It's quite big, it just looks a bit crap with that bit there. But never mind. I've got toilets. I was going to do a joke about why do they bother with toilets when they're always locked. They weren't. I've just used them, I'm happy. Even though it's a new town, they've got these little walkway things which look quite old. Obviously they're not. If you want to know what time it is, you can do a lot worse than look at the clock there, because it tells you a time, which minimum twice a day would be correct. But to be fair, it has moved while I've been here, so I think it's correct all the time, which is nice. I like businesses that take things to a whole new level. Colour printing, it says there, and this is Cotswold letterpress, which I imagine has been around for at least 30 years. But they do something I've never seen before. They print wrapping paper, which is paper that wraps. It goes, yeah, man, we are Pippa and we are going to wrap your presents today, like that kind of thing, you know, wrapping presents paper. Behind me is one of Ford's oldest garages in the world. They actually opened this when there were cars. Well, not even cars. Before cars were invented, in fact, they used to sell bears here. And that's why they called it Bear Street Garage. So you could buy a bear if you had a circus and make loads of money from it, because you could do that back then. This row of houses for old people. It's old people's houses row. You have to be over 200 years old to live there. Needless to say, it's empty at the moment. Some interesting architecture. You think you know what it is, but you don't. This is the old toilets. There's a men and ladies entrance. It's not a church. And now there's this. It looks like a church. It smells like a church. It's even got a churchyard. But it is in fact auctions, where they auction things like oxen, I assume. You auction oxen, don't you? You have to be careful when you go to an auction, because that's the auction thing there through the trees. Just about make it out. But if you buy something and you can't afford it, they kill you and then bury you in the churchyard. So don't bid for anything unless you've got the money to pay for it. Now, people rightly kick up a fuss about slavery, you know, in the older days. But this was worse. This was child labour. These old people's houses were put up there. It says by a child. That's disgraceful. I love stuff like this. Even though it's less than 20 years old, that wall has had a life. Right, that looks like an old mill, but it is in fact a Catholic church. Now, I know it's a new town and all that, but you think they make an effort to make it look a bit churchy, wouldn't you, rather than look like just kind of an old mill. To be fair, the bus station is rubbish, but it's still more impressive than the Catholic church. There is a church that looks like a church and is a church, I think, here. So confusion is over. It's quite a pretty church as well, I'll be honest with you. I do like this one. I give this one 8 out of 10. I'll be honest, this church is huge inside. It's almost like the TARDIS. And, well, it's closed at the moment, it's even got the coffee shop, which I think is really nice. Well, a lovely little church. I say little, it's actually quite big. All that gets missing is one of them little things where you just tap your card on to donate £5 for the church, because I would have gladly paid that They just had a little box for putting cash in, which A, I don't think is particularly secure, and B, who carries cash these days? So get one of them little square things or whatever, all the churches do them, and just like that, and you'd have got a fiver off me, or a tenner, because it's well worth it. Absolutely amazing church. Look, they need to fix them walls in the side of the tower, don't they? Sooner rather than later, I would have thought. Otherwise you get birds and bats nesting in there. You don't want that. Oh no. Whole new can of worms. Well, mammals and birds. More old people homing, hopefully not done by a child like the last one. However, there is what looks like a swing rope here, which may be from a child who was forced to do that, but as a reward they got to play on the swing rope. I don't know, either way. I begin to think this place might be into child slavery. Within gobbing distance of the church is the NHS and their doctor's house. That's what they give the doctors to live in round here, because it's posh. I was lucky if they get a cabin. I say a cabin, I mean a shed. I say a shed, I mean a door. Now remember that this place was built as a new town in the 1950s, and you can see there the newfangled technology that they had at the time, which was called a telephone box, where you could pick up a piece of plastic and press a piece of plastic and speak to someone who was probably made out of plastic. But here is one of the original "You want to come and live here" signs from the 1950s. Well, basically it says "Welcome to," because no one knew where it were, and then the name of the place, which is Wotton on the Cliff or whatever it is, and a lady dressed of the times, very stylish for the times. So there you go, proof positive that I know what I'm talking about. This is a new town. It's got all the new town-fangled stuff, although it's old now, to be honest. The sign there says "Churches together in Wotton," but most of the churches have been converted into something else, so they're not really together at all, are they? Anyway, here's another map, so you can find your way around and find your way out again, which is as important as finding your way in. Now, you know me, I like a business with a good name, and we've got there the Indian Palace, although it's not really a palace, nor in India, but it's still a good name. And then here we've got the Hong Kong kitchen, although it's not a kitchen. Well, it is a kitchen, I suppose, but it's not in Hong Kong. And then we've got the Aerodynamics hair salon, which is something that probably Wallace and Gromit probably come up with, because machines do your hair and everything, and hopefully it works. I don't know, I'm not going in. Yeah, you can read that yourself, can't you? Just pause it. Wow. Tiny little chapel in the middle. That's beautiful. That's really nice, though. It was like a little community. I love it when they do things like that. I mean, back to clever signs for places. Hey, pesto. I like that. That's good. I like that one. I have to disagree with you there. I think mass should be compulsory, otherwise you'll be shut down before Christmas. Just saying. I said before about the 1950s. The shop is from the 1950s. W.H. Wotton, Thomas and Sons Outfitters from the 1950s. You know what it's like when you're building a house in Lego and then you run out of the bits that you need to finish it off. They've done that here in real life with this building. Look at the state of that corner. More 50s traditional finery in this traditional 50s shop, which doesn't have a name on it because that was traditional as well. AC Partners, a traditional butcher's here in Wotton. You can tell that because it's cream and red, and those are the traditional colours of butchers. Doesn't get much more 50s than this in the new town. The Star Inn with the latest liner there pictured on the board thing is right next to the cinema. But of course, the cinema side is a new side because that's a new name for it. Originally, in the 50s, it was called Electric Picture House because electric had only just been invented in the 1950s. And this is where you came to watch your movies featuring such people as Imelda Humperdinck and Barry Manilow and other film stars of the time. So there you go then, Wotton. It's really nice. Nice church, eventually. Some weird churches in the meantime. 3 lads What are you doing? Filming for YouTube? Irish, I think they were. So they got me to give them my YouTube channel. So, and yeah, that's about it really. Pretty scenery, pretty buildings. New town though, you can tell it's a new town. It'll grow into itself at some point in the future. Anyway, that's it for this time. Till next time, bye. Where shall we go today? Where shall we go? Where do you want to go today? Let's walk round. AC Partners, traditional butchers. You can tell it's traditional because it's red and cream, and those are the traditional cultures of butchers.